Երեք ողջ գիշեր եւ այսօր առավոտյան մարտերը շարունակվել են։ Գիշերվա ընթացքում հակառակորդը Արաքսի հովտի հատվածում Արաքսի երկայնքով փորձել է ուժեր կուտակել եւ առաջ ընթանալ։ Մեր հետախուզական ստորաբաժանումները հետևել են հակառակորդի գործողություններին, ժամանակին հավաստանշել են եւ դիպուկ հրթիռային ու հրետանային կրակով խմբավորմանը մեծ վնաս են պատճառել, մոտավորապես 3 համահավաք բրիգադների լավ սպառազինված, ինչը դուք տեսաք նաև ֆոտոնյութերում, կրակային խոցում են իրականացնել, ոչնչացնելով ամբողջ խումբը։ Այդ զորախումբը կրել է զգալի կորուստներ։ Մի քանի տասնյակ մահացածներ, զգալի թվով զրահատեխնիկա, որոնց մի մասը անվնաս թողել եւ դաշտից փախել են։ Այդ հատվածում կուտակումներ իրականացնելիս ադրբեջանական ստորաբաժանումները, զորամասերը, միավորումները հաճախակի օգտվում են այն հանգամանքից, որ սահմանի երկայնքով Արաքսը որպես սահման եւ գործողություններ իրականացնելիս միգուցե նահանջի կամ չգիտեմ խուսավորման ժամանակ փորձում են օգտվել Արաքսի սահմանից, ինչի առնչությամբ մենք կոչ արեցինք ուրեմն իրանական կողմին հետևել այս գործողություններին եւ թույլ չտալ գետը անցնել։ Օրվա ընթացքում եղել են նաև այլ դիպուկ հարվածներ, տեսանյութը հրապարակվեց րոպեներ առաջ, դուք կարող եք տեսնել, թե ինչպես է ուրեմն խոցվում ադրբեջանական նավթամթերքի մեծ բազա եւ տարօրինակն այն է, որ պատերազմի 11-րդ օրն է ընթանում եւ նավթամթերքի բազայի հարևանությամբ գտնվում է ուրեմն զորանոց, որտեղ ըստ էության ոչնչացել են մոտավորապես 200 զինծառայողներ գտնվելով նավթամթերքի բազային հարակից տարածքում։ Հյուսիսային ուղղությամբ եւս պաշտպանության բանակի ստորաբաժանումները ունեն զգալի առաջխաղացում, հայտարարվեց կոնկրետ դիրքային շեշտակի բարելավումների մասին, կարևոր դիրքերի բարելավման մասին, ընդհանուր առմամբ ամբողջ ուղղությամբ մարտերը շարունակվում են, այսօր ողջ օրվա ընթացքում ադրբեջանական զինված ուժերը հեռահար հրթիռային եւ այլ օտային
using long-range missiles striking Stepanakert and the civilian population, Shushi and other settlements. Mostly this is the situation. Our troops continue to persistently win in different front lines. The battles are very tough, are very severe, and the adversary is deploying large volume of ammunition. Now let me give the floor to my colleague, and then we will take your questions. Hello. You know that the European Court on the 29th of September applied interim measure whereby they called upon Azerbaijan and Armenia in their actions to comply with the requirements of the convention and not to target civilian settlements and civilian facilities and objects. It was about this interim measure actually was taken on the basis of the request lodged by the Armenia, because the court acted based on the application and also accompanying pieces of evidence furnished by the Armenian side. After that, of course, on daily basis, we have been furnishing different pieces of evidence to the court about convention and human rights violations committed by Azerbaijan. Till yesterday, we were sending them updates, and today also we will send them the court updates to show the total negligence of the humanitarian law, as well as the provisions of the conventions, as well as the basic standards regarding the human rights, because what we witness indiscriminate and permanent shelling of the settlements of Stepanakert has no link or no association with the international humanitarian laws. Taking into consideration that there are already international press coverages about Turkish engagement, as well as announcements, clear announcements made by the foreign ministers of different countries. Yesterday we had also such announcement from the intelligence service of the Russian Federation. Turkey is recruiting mercenaries and terroristic groups from Syria and Libya, transporting them to Karabakh to engage them in combat operations. To that end, we have requested the court to, of course, we have submitted accompanying proofs to apply interim measure against Turkey. With all the evidence was submitted. Right after we have submitted our application, the statement from the Russian intelligence service also was posted, and we shared it again with the court. After that, we received the resolution of the court, the decision of the court. Maybe you have read about this. They make a reference to the previous decision adopted on September 29th of September, and taking into account the escalation on the border, they call upon the state, including Turkey, to refrain from actions that may like the states which are directly or indirectly involved should refrain from actions. It's self-evident that in this particular situation, the decision taken, the decision adopted, the decision was adopted based on the request, based on the application, and the evidence lodged and furnished by the Armenian government. Of course, nothing was sent to the Turkish government, and in this context, it is evident that they speak about the engagement of Turkey, because everything in this particular case related to mobilization of mercenaries and terrorists by the Turkish, and specifically allegations and evidence about this. This much so far. Of course, we will following up on the actions to fulfill these decisions, to comply with these decisions. Of course, the first decision was on September 29 on interim measure. In that regard, we are already taking steps. So far we haven't received any information from Azerbaijan. The court hasn't provided any kind of update. And as to what steps they have been taking, and that's why, taking as a basis the rules of the court, we have asked the court to apply active efforts in this regard. The next step, according to the rules of the court, the question will be taken to the Ministers' Committee, where it can be actively voted on. The same is true for the decision about Turkey. If you have questions, I will provide you details. These are interim decisions. And what happens if the parties do not comply with these interim measures? At this moment, the time period, in this period, the most effective measure, if the court is not able to undertake prompt actions compelling the parties to undertake certain steps, then the most effective immediate step will be taking the question to the Ministers' Committee, where the member states will come up with their questions, and then on that ground there might be a decision to apply political decision. For example, this recent decision about the engagement of Turkey, at least France and Russia, which are member states of the European Council, they made clear statements about Turkey's engagement in the conflict, and this generally provides the general background for undertaking clear steps with regard to fulfillment of this decision. As to the future, if concrete steps are not taken for the future, definitely this will be a violation of the convention, which will definitely be acknowledged by way of a specific court ruling. What will be the next step? Do you expect response from Turkey? What they should submit? Also, in the future, if the ruling against Turkey will be taken, what question will be what will be the consequence? Okay. What is the importance of such a ruling for Armenia? I think this ruling is very important because we first of all think that the value of interim measure is, I repeat myself, the court took decision based on our request and on our proofs, and the court has simply stated the engagement, the fact of engagement of Turkey, because irrespective of the formulations that the court has tried to include in its decision, we can quite understand it why they have done so, but the fact is that in this particular situation, the court has undertaken such a step based on its evaluation of the proofs submitted by the Armenian government, and it is quite logical that there is a fact, a circumstance of engagement of Turkey in the conflict. And therefore, to offset its steps will be taken. In this regard, I think in the future, in the general logic of this whole context, it is an important step. This step should have been taken right away. Right now, we can speak about the ruling whenever we furnish the main complaint, because with regard to neither Azerbaijan nor Turkey, we have submitted complaints so far. May this be a detrimental factor for Turkey? What do you think? Can it serve as a ground for other states to really be very strict on this? Yes, this can be a tool, an instrument for other members of the Council of Europe to make a reference to this ruling and come up with certain claims vis-à-vis Turkey, and also make political decisions, because it's natural that the mere existence of such a decision, or without this decision, or with this decision, of course, the situation would be completely difficult. The existence of this decision is a great step forward. In the future, both the Republic of Armenia should undertake steps through diplomatic channels, working with the Ministerial Committee of the Council of Europe, working with other partners that we have, trying to bring this issue on the political agenda. Mr. Kirakosyan, in the report, you have submitted information that terrorist fighters are located, deployed in the region. And this decision, in fact, comes to prove it. Does it give any ground to the Armenian political and military leadership to neutralize these terrorist forces? I think even without the decision, we were entitled to take such a step. It is not the decision that will come to give us such an opportunity, because we are always warning them, you are going to bear the responsibility. But if the adversary side is using terrorists by attacking your country, by jeopardizing the physical safety and security of Artsakh people, based on humanitarian law, both Armenia and Azerbaijan have full rights to undertake all steps to demolish these forces, even without this decision, because international laws do give us this opportunity, and also the responsibility to protect principle, which is in this particular case fully exercised by Armenia, and also the logic of recession, because this is an existential war. Mr. Hovhannisyan's question is to Mr. Hovhannisyan. If there are no more questions to Mr. Kirakosyan. Mr. Hovhannisyan, you mentioned that the Azerbaijani side seems to take refuge on the border with Iran. My question is whether has Iran already responded to it, and what Iran should undertake in order to prevent such a development? Yes, of course, there is a response from Iran, and luckily enough, not only on the level of political statements. I cannot make any other comment. This is a very delicate question. We do have a response from Iran, definitely. Also, the president of Artsakh, mentioned that there is a need to establish a new anti-terrorism coalition. Can you a little bit dwell on it? What does it mean? Who should be in the coalition? Who is this call addressed to? Either I cannot respond, you can, because this question is a little bit political and military question. It's better to ask this question, response from Artsakh. You have mentioned that today we have improved our positions. The question is, we saw some postings, specifically Daniel Hovhannisyan wrote some posts on the social media. I haven't seen his post, to be frank. With regard to improvements of the positions, can take place every moment. I can say that simply the direction is in the northern front line. This relates to the improvements of today. Mr. Hovhannisyan, on the Armenian-Azerbaijani border, what is the situation there? It's a standstill. There are no active combat operations there. The fact that there is relative standstill on the Tavush side, is it thanks to the positional improvement that we had earlier? I think it's thanks to their craftsmanship, but not only, because we have more integral military and ammunition. It's not only improvement in positions. The Azerbaijani propaganda machine is periodically posting and disseminating some materials, and then they don't get further information. These are completely ridiculous things. For example, today's footage with a peaceful population. In this context, there was a small reflection on captives. Can you respond to this question? Is there any information whether there are any hostages or not? We don't have such information so far. You may well understand that even in a relative standstill situation, we didn't have any contact with Azerbaijan. All the contacts went through the Red Cross. Today, there is no contact at all. Therefore, in terms of victims, in terms of hostages, in terms of corpses, I cannot provide you any substantial information. During these intensive battles, there was no standstill or seizure for both sides to take away their victims or corpses? No, unfortunately, no. The question, Mr. Kirakosyan, can you provide more details regarding which particular state settlements? What proofs have you submitted in your request for interim measure against Turkey? Which settlements of Armenia and Artsakh were targeted? If these proofs were explicit and indisputable, undiscussable, why the decision of the court is so neutral? Thank you. In fact, in this particular phase, when we are speaking about in the interim measure, we speak about prima facie evidence. The process is quite fast, and the court actually doesn't even manage to look at them. Also, the parties do not manage to provide quite in-depth evidence. In the next phase, during the complaint phase, more in-depth evidence is provided. As regards our evidence that we have submitted in the request for interim measure against Turkey, actually this evidence is in the same context as in the case of Azerbaijan, but here we emphasized more the engagement of Turkey, because from the legal perspective we had to show how we connect Turkey's actions. What are the proofs that show or prove Turkey's direct military engagement in terms of personnel, in terms of military equipment, kind of their direct engagement in the process, or their participation in the management of the military operations, and their indirect engagement by way of mobilizing and deploying mercenaries and terrorist fighters. So we showed the direct link, between Turkish actions and the consequences that bring to irreparable harm. And this means that the convention rights, in the logic of convention rights, they create, there is a risk of irreparable harm. We have to show it. That's why our factual evidences were targeted to show this particular aspect. But the context is the same. It's in the same conflict. Taking the decision, has the court established some time frame for the parties? No, at this moment we don't have specific time frame set. I think the allegations we have furnished, specific pieces of evidence that we have submitted are enough to get a response from them, because this is how the process works. It is a court procedure. We have filed a request. We are submitting the reasonings. We are submitting the proofs. We should wait now for the other party also to engage. So we will wait, and I will provide you regular updates on it. What about in the framework of the request to impose an interim measure against Azerbaijan, has Armenia also sent additional information with regard to obligations? Yes, we have done it today. We have prepared such a report. We will send it today. We are working in two directions. You know, there are the substantial portions of the letters and proofs relate to the violations committed by Azerbaijan. You know, there are multiple such breaches and violations, and today we are also sending information about the steps that we have undertaken to prevent or preclude such violations. At the moment, I cannot share any information because we are collecting this information. You will learn about this later. Is a clear decision to lodge with the ministerial committee? No, it is up to the government. The government has to take a decision. We, as a party, can actually ask the court to. Actually, it should be submitted by the court. We will ask them to do so. After publication, how many? There are some days. This decision was taken a few days ago, but it seems to be in the air. The same relates to the Turkey. This platform might be very effective also to deal with Turkey. We will update you on this the moment we file with the court. Thank you. Questions to Mr. Hovhannisyan. Mr. Hovhannisyan, for several days now, on the level of different states, engagement of Turkey is being confirmed and is being condemned. I wonder whether after such condemnations, do you see in the scope and volume of engagement of Turkey, has there been any reduction or not? Or maybe from the objective perspective, there is some reduction. But if there is one, is it connected with the urges, with the cause, or with the actions of the Armenian army? You know, substantial reduction of engagement of Turkey in the combat operation is not seen from our side. Turkey continues to be engaged. Maybe they are applying less forces, less ammunition in some parts, in some sections. I think this is directly connected only with the success of the Armenian army. On all the other aspects, non-military aspects, these calls do not have direct implications. These may have long-term indirect implications on them. I may make an additional comment. According to verified information, next to the fuel storage depot, one artillery battalion with a special force was destroyed there. It is a full big troop. If you do not have any questions, see you later. Follow us from Yerevan, follow us from Stepanakert. The Armenian Unified Inform Center will provide you updates 24 hours a day.